The Car Doctor uses only quality Snap-on tools and equipment.
Greetings and welcome back to the Car Doctor channel. I'm Tim and I appreciate you stopping by today. Anyway, we got a special treat for you. Actually doing the left front hub and bearing assembly on this 05 Taco. This one's a 4x and I imagine that this repair is going to be similar to those ranging between, I don't know, 2000 to 2008 or whatever, but don't take my word on that. One quick note, if you don't feel confident doing a repair like this, then refer it to a competent fat balding mechanic. I know one that you can check into. You may have availability if you're in Anchorage, Alaska. Anyway, also, consult your repair manual for proper techniques and specifications to do that. We want to be safe. This is a front suspension issue, and when your wheel falls off, you can lose control and die, and that wouldn't be good. So anyway, this is just for entertainment purposes, guys, and the entertainment value is even questionable. Anyway, before we get going, I wanted to just share something. I've been working on a new channel sticker for the Car Doctor channel, and we've had that in development for quite some time, working with some companies, and they've come up with some ideas, and we've just got a rough workup of what that's going to look like, and I wanted to get some feedback from you, the viewers. So anyway, for the big reveal, the new Car Doctor channel sticker, we're thinking, it's a pretty original design. I don't know. I think it's cool. It's me. I think it looks like me, doesn't it? Yeah. Anyway, just something cool I thought I would share with you guys. We're always keeping it real here. We want to be, be ourselves and not be imitators of someone else. Anyway, let's get going on this. We'll go ahead and pop this left front wheel. I've got it raised up on my 2-post hoist here. I want to use safe lifting practices. I'll go ahead and pull this tire off. Just notice something. It says rotation, and then it has an arrow pointing that way. The arrow is supposed to point that way. And this customer just installed their own tires, and one of these, they're mounted on rims already, so one of these is going to be on the wrong location. We'll be sure to correct that. These are winter directional tires. We're in Anchorage, Alaska, so it gets a little bit slickery up here. A lot of people choose to put tires on. Another thing to note, if you have one of these rigs, check into recalls. They have a rear spring issue. They're replacing the rear leaf spring assemblies on a lot of these. And also there's frame rust issues that they take care of as well. This one's been inspected for the frame rust issue and found to have none, since we don't really deal with rust here. We don't put salt on the roads. We wouldn't do something like that. That's a government conspiracy, but he does need to get in for the rear springs, even though that's really not a problem. There's no corrosion on the springs. His little squeaker pads are worn off, but other than that, not an issue. All right, next we need to remove the brake caliper, and in this case, I'm probably just going to completely disconnect the brake line and remove the caliper as a whole, and then pop this rotor off. Son of a biscuit. So this isn't coming loose here, which I don't know how you guys, with all the rust, deal with that. I'm going to take it loose right off the caliper. There. Let's pull that away a little bit. Got my drain pan under it. Remove the 2 caliper mounting bracket bolts. $17mm. And then remove the caliper. Now I can remove the brake rotor. Now remove this brake line bracket. Just get it off to the side. Remove this sway bar end link off of the control arm. You live in Erico's neck of the woods, this might not be as easy. Get that out of the way. Okay. Now I'm going to drop this tie rod off of here. $19mm, 18mm, $19mm, Give it a few whacks. Disconnect the ABS wiring. Clean that up a little bit. Okay. Let's remove this axle nut or spindle nut. Do that by removing the dust cover. .32mm, or actually 36mm. Hear that? I'm doing this service because of noise from the left front. I've actually done the rear wheel bearings on this rig about 60,000 miles ago, and it's super common issue. Rear bearings begin to leak grease out of the rear axle, and then the front, around 100,000 miles, the front bearings tend to fail, and there's a little bit of play in it and a rotational noise. It's terrible. That noise changes as you turn back and forth. So, you know, if you had a bearing buddy, you could probably service this bearing assembly on the car. You could press this out of here, pull the hub off, and do the bearing. But I'm going to remove the entire assembly. So to get the knuckle off, I'm going to remove the upper lower ball joints. 3/4 on that one. Or 19 millimeter. Use a 3/4 impact wobbly socket. With this lower ball joint. Okay, rather than fighting to get this lower ball joint off the knuckle, I spaced out. You can just remove the 2 flange bolts attaching the knuckle to the lower ball joint. All right, there we go. Okay, before you get going on this, good idea to pull this ABS sensor out. Since the inside of the sensor is right here by this bearing, and you don't want to break that. So I'm just using a little 10 millimeter. Pull that out of there. Again, this may be a lot more difficult in the area you're at due to corrosion and whatnot. Take your time and work it out of there. That came out pretty easy, but they can get a buildup of glop under there. Okay, I'm going to mount it in the vise just to secure it for now. Pop this inner seal. Now it's the tough part where you're going to need to press this inner hub out. Boy, that sounds terrible. So that we can access and remove the retaining bolts. So basically, unless at this point you have a fixture and a press to mount this and press that out, you're going to have a hard time doing that without special equipment. So you could just take this modular assembly and your bearing to a shop that can do that for you. Just make sure they know what they're doing and they're not going to hose you. and then you just reverse the procedure. But I'm going to try to press this out, of course, since I do have a press, and we can adapt something to get that out of there. Okay, I'm just going to install my bearing knife. That should work to support it in the press. So the outer bearing ends up stuck on the spindle or the hub. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put my bearing knife in here and press this bearing off. You could also surgically cut this and break it and get it off that way. I'm just gonna try the bearing knife. Let's see if we can get that pressed off there. So it's very obvious that the inner bearing, the rollers had just dried up and was beginning to completely fail. See a lot of metal material in here. I did that damage when I was pressing it off, but just dried up. Okay, now I brought the knuckle assembly back over to the bench, and we're going to pop the rest of the hub assembly off of there. Okay, I've left the backing plate here and the knuckle assembly just so I don't get things out of whack here. Keep it just the way it was. Make sure it's relatively cleaned up here. That the bore where the hub sits down is clean. All right. So I'm going to use quality Moog replacement parts and the National seals. You want to go with, Moog or National quality part because you don't want to have to do this again. And this is, Asia spec stuff here. Don't have a problem with it. We don't see these coming back. So highly recommend it. And it is a unit part. In this case, it doesn't include the inner and outer seal. We're going to need to replace those, but it is a complete unit bearing with the inner and outer and a little hub, I guess they call it. So go ahead and insert that. There we go. All right, I use a little bit of medium strength blue Loctite on the threads for this. And then I'm just, real lightly and evenly going to snug it down. And now I'm going to mount this back in the vise and properly torque these. Torque these to 59 foot-pounds. Now we go back to the press and press our hub back in here. Almost forgot, we got to replace that outer seal first. Just install it over the bearing. Finally, we just need to install the inner seal, which pops down in there. All right, just going to lubricate this sealing surface here. Let's clean things up. Apply a little lube on the axle shaft sealing area. All right, we're ready to reinstall. I'm going to apply a little blue Loctite to the lower ball joint flange to knuckle bolts. And grab the assembly. Snug this upper ball joint up a little bit. Don't tighten it with the impact, but just snug it up a little. And my two lower ball joint. Okay, now we tighten the upper ball joint. In this case, it's 81 foot-pounds. So take it to 81 foot-pounds and then tighten it till you can get your cotter pin through. Which I had to go just a little bit more. Be sure to use a new cotter pin. Now these get torqued to 118 foot-pounds. Now I got to reinstall my lower ball joint stud and torque that properly and install a cotter pin as well. But I didn't really need to take that loose earlier, but I did. Now I'm going to reinstall this speed sensor. And torque it to 73 inch-pounds. Click. Run my speed sensor wiring. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and install the outer tie rod end. And I'll torque it to 67. Install a new cotter pin. Now I'll install my end link. This one gets torqued to 52. Be sure to control your manual because there's the pre-runner, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. So, all right, I'll just thread the axle nut on there. We'll go ahead and stick my rotor and brake caliper. I always put a couple dabs of blue Loctite on my caliper mounting bolt. Snug them up a little. Torque these to 91 foot-pounds. And I'm going to thread in my brake line while I still got the bracket a little loose. So it's easier to thread and I don't get it cross-threaded. I can kind of work it in there. Work it. Having difficulty. There we go. Brake tube bracket, 21 foot-pounds. Tighten up the brake line. And just run this hub nut down a little bit. It's a critical adjustment. You want to get this right. So then to torque it, I'm just going to insert a screwdriver in the brake rotor vanes. And we're going to torque it to, let's see, 173 foot-pounds. Perfect. Okay. We'll install our locking ring and a brand new cotter pin. and the dust cover. All right, we'll finish this one up by bleeding the brake system and torquing that wheel down. I think it's 83 foot-pounds torque for the wheel. And this one will be back down the road. Went pretty smooth. Generally speaking, I think this job pays like 3 hours labor-ish. So, you know, in a half day's time with the proper tools and equipment, you can knock this puppy out. Just be real careful with the hub assembly and pressing things in, and of course be safe around a press. Those things can get kind of squirrely when stuff starts letting loose. I had to apply a lot of pressure to get that hub out of there the first time around. So other than that, pretty straightforward. I appreciate you coming by, and I wish you good luck with your repairs. Please subscribe to the Car Doctor channel now for more money-saving tips and tricks like this that are going to help keep you on the road. All right, take care.